Hello everyone, and welcome back to Cooking with Suzanne. Today we're going to make a pasta dish. I have to say that at the restaurant, at Suzanne Fine Regional Cuisine up in the Finger Lakes, I rarely served a pasta dish with dried pasta. I did make a lot of homemade ravioli, many homemade ravioli, gnocchi, homemade pasta dishes, but very rarely did I use a dried pasta. Today we are going to use a dried pasta, and we're going to use broccoli. So we're going to stick with our letter B for now and talk about broccoli. Broccoli is ready always in the grocery store. You can always get nice fresh broccoli. And I chose this dish for my very dear brother-in-law Bill Stack, who loves sausage. So, you know, a pork sausage, as delicious as it is, it's probably not the absolute very best for you. However, it's so flavorful, and if you do use it in a pasta dish, you don't get such a huge portion, but you get that wonderful flavor. Today we're going to use turkey sausage, and this is a hot, spicy turkey sausage that we're going to use, which is lower in fat. Lower in saturated fat, and it's a little bit healthier. Actually, I would say it's probably quite a bit more healthier. So we're going to use turkey sausage, and this recipe is, I'm just cutting the recipe in half. So what I have here is about 6 ounces of turkey sausage, and to that I'm going to add a little bit of white wine. And what is the reason? I have 1/4 cup of white wine. I'm just going to add a couple of tablespoons of white wine. And what that does, I'm just going to throw on a glove just so that I'm not working with raw meat and then go straight to vegetables.
Excuse me, Chef.
Yeah.
When you add wine to your preparation of the dish,
Right.
You use a particular varietal or what?
Yeah, I
type of wine
tend
do
to
you use?
definitely use Riesling. And by the way, that's Bob.
Yeah.
In case you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Riesling wine for cooking. I use it all the time. It has high acidity, and it's wonderful for cooking. And the reason why I put a little bit of wine here in the turkey sausage and mix it in is that it helps to break down the sausage when we cook it, so that it doesn't, as you're sauteing it, it doesn't stay in big, large lumps and clumps. You're able to actually break it down very easy. And we'll save a little bit of this wine also for after we saute our vegetables. Okay, so our turkey sausage is ready. The main ingredient here is broccoli. This is a half a head of broccoli. This is, as I said, a half a recipe. Okay, so glove is done, hands are clean, and I can continue. So we have our sausage. What I did with the broccoli is I steamed it. I don't like to boil it. I like to either steam it or do a quick stir fry with it. This has been steamed, so it does have some texture to it. It's not fully cooked. I mean, it is cooked, but it's not, there is a little bit of texture. You want a little bit of a bite to your broccoli, because this gets added at the end, and it only cooks for about a minute afterwards. So that's all set and ready to go. And what we have here is red onion. If you can't get red onion, you can use regular sweet onion. Vidalia onion is coming into season. It'd be a wonderful onion to use. I have celery. I love celery. Actually, I think it's the underappreciated vegetable. I think celery is wonderful in a lot of different dishes. And here I just took the celery and just sliced it very thinly on the diagonal, as you can see there, very thinly. You could chop it if you want, if you prefer to chop it just like the red onion is, but I like to actually see it in the dish, so that's why I do that. And then we have some garlic here, very thinly sliced, and I'm going to keep the garlic that way. I'm not going to dice it up. You could chop it also, but in this case, I'm going to leave the garlic just nice and thinly sliced. And then we have a little red pepper flakes, which I love, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and some stock. So let's get started. Okay, I have my pan heated up. As you know, I really like to get my pans heated up before I get started. So my pan is heated up. I had it on low heat. I'm going to raise it now, and I'll add some oil. You can use olive oil, canola oil, grapeseed oil. If you really would like to use butter, you certainly can. Just be careful with the, obviously, if you use a very hot pan and add butter to it, what's going to happen? I think you all know it's going to burn, so be very careful with that.
So Chef, you don't want to just take a cold pan, throw your oil in there, and then throw your vegetables onto the oil.
That's right. You want to first get your pan warm before you actually add your oil. So we're going to add a little bit of olive oil to our pan, about a tablespoon or so, enough to be able to, and I think you'll get a really nice view of this. Can you actually see that it's, well, maybe you really can't see this, but the oil is actually rippling, which means my pan was nice and hot. And that's what I'm looking for. I want the oil to kind of ripple in the bottom of the pan, so you know it's ready to go. So once that happens, which it has, that means my pan is hot enough and I can go ahead and start adding my vegetables, which is the onion and the celery. We'll hold off on the garlic until these are softened, which takes about 5 minutes. This is a very quick, easy dish, very flavorful, really satisfying, and you can use almost any other vegetable you like with sausage. You can use cauliflower here if you wanted to. Cauliflower and peas with the sausage would be really good. Okay, so here we go. Let's put in the red onion. Grab a wooden spoon. Let's get it all in. Don't want to waste it. I always like to cook my onion for just a minute before I go ahead and add any other vegetables to it. And of course, once again, we're sweating these vegetables. We're trying to release the water out of the vegetables. So we'll go ahead and add a little bit of salt once I get the celery in there, okay? So the reason why I don't like to dump all the vegetables in all at once is that what'll happen is it'll cool down the pan too fast. And you don't want that to happen. Hopefully you can hear that sizzling going on, and you want that. You want your pan to always continue to sizzle. You don't want to lose that, and if you dump everything in, it might make it very quiet. Then you need to bring it all back up again, and that's not what you're looking to do. So it's still sizzling very nicely. So let's go ahead and throw in our celery. And these are our 2 vegetables before we go ahead and add our garlic. Now, just because we don't have a huge amount of time together, I try sometimes to do a few steps ahead of time. So what I have here is a frying pan in the back of my stove, also getting warmed up. I'm going to add a little bit of oil to that pan and add my sausage. However, if I wasn't in a hurry and I was just here by myself making this dish, I would wait until the onion and celery were ready and then throw my sausage in then. But I want to save a little bit of time. So here our onion and celery are sauteing, and now would be a good time to add a little bit, of course, kosher salt. So let me take the spoon out. I would say you want about a half a teaspoon of kosher salt, just to be able to release the water from the vegetables. And we'll let that go for about 5 minutes. And that was, by the way, for a half a recipe, 1 stalk of celery. And that was a half of red onion. For a full recipe, it would be double that. 1 full red onion to 2 stalks of celery. Okay, let's get a little bit of oil in our frying pan over here, so we can go ahead and start browning our sausage. And I'll raise the heat up so we can get our pan nice and hot, and then I'll brown the sausage and then add it to our onions and celery. Okay, I'm going to turn the heat down on the onions and celery so they just sweat. We're not looking, once again, for any color. We're just looking to let them release the water and soften up a little bit. Okay, this is doing super well. Now I'm going to go ahead and I think my pan is nice and hot. I'm going to put in my sausage. Okay, so you just move it around and it'll break up nicely. Use your wooden spoon and we'll get our sausage nice and brown, ready to go in with our vegetables. And in the meantime, what I will do is I'm going to take my garlic, my very thinly sliced garlic. I'm going to put it in now with my celery and my onions. And I love a little bit of chili flake, red peppers. Now the sausage is also hot and spicy, so you want to be careful. Normally I would do about a half a teaspoon for a full recipe, which by the way, the sausage was about 6 ounces, 6 to 8 ounces. So you want anywhere from 12 ounces to a pound of sausage for a full recipe. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of red pepper flakes in here, about a 1/4 teaspoon. I don't want to overdo it since the sausage itself is nice and spicy.
Excuse me, Chef, is there a dish you do not put red pepper flakes into? Because I haven't found one yet.
Dessert.
Touche.
Yeah, dessert. Okay, so this sausage is cooking up really well. And it's almost ready to go in with our other vegetables here. Let's give it a nice toss here, the garlic and the onion and the celery. Okay, that looks really, really nice. Okay. So there is a little bit of fat in the frying pan. I think it has really good flavor because also the wine has been released. So I think I'm going to use it all. I'd like to taste it first though to see how it tastes. Here's our sausage cooking. I'm going to see this fat right here. I'm going to taste that. If that seems like it's too much, we won't add it. You can always put it on a tray lined with paper towel if you want to get rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to raise the heat on the onions and the garlic. And I'll go ahead and add the remainder of the wine, okay? And if you don't want to use wine, if you absolutely don't use wine at all in your cooking, you could add a little bit of water here and let that water soak into the vegetables, evaporate. You can, or just eliminate this altogether. Okay, so the wine's going in. Let that go into the vegetables. And I'm going to taste this little bit of fat in the sausage here and see what it tastes like. Okay. Has a lot of flavor. A little bit of spice. I can taste a little bit of salt, and I can actually taste a little bit of the acidity. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. Okay, here we go. You can see that the wine has totally evaporated in with the onions and the garlic. It's completely evaporated here. So now I'll go ahead and throw in the sausage, which is completely cooked, as you can see. It's nice and brown and ready to go. Okay, throw that in. I'm going to shut this off. Throw this on high for a second. So now I want to bring all these flavors together. I'm going to add 1 cup of stock. I do like a little bit of broth in my pasta. If you don't like broth and you want it to reduce longer, you go ahead, but I do like a little bit of broth. So here we go. Let's throw in 1 cup. For a full recipe, it would be 2 cups of broth. Okay, bring that to a boil, and then we're going to cover it and simmer it for about 8 minutes so that all the flavors come together. Okay, you want to bring all those flavors together. Okay, this here. Okay, it's almost coming to a boil now. And then I'll simmer this for about 8 to 10 minutes. Then we will add our broccoli, a little, if you'd like to finish it off with a little bit of butter, and of course a little bit of Parmesan cheese would be very nice too. So we have broccoli, a little parsley, a little butter, and a little cheese. And we can get rid of this and talk about our pasta. Okay, everyone has their favorite pasta. So I am sure that you know that a lot of chefs are very particular about what type of pasta they like, what shape of pasta they like to use. I personally think it's a matter of preference and what you want to eat and what you enjoy. This is an Orecchiette, which is little, I think they call them little elephant ears, but just a little. What I love about this pasta is that it actually kind of scoops so that you can get all the broth and everything, and it all melts really nicely together, which is really great. Okay, it's finally come to a nice boil, so I'm going to lower this, and then we can set a timer for about 8 minutes, and that'll be ready to go for our next step. So let's get that low enough. I would say pretty low. Keep it covered because I'm not looking to get rid of, I don't want any of the broth to evaporate because I want that broth there. So whatever pasta you like. In regard to pasta, you can cook it ahead of time if you want, especially if you are short on time, you want to get it done ahead of time, you have to go to work, make sure you can do this. So you cook your pasta al dente and then drain it. I put a little bit of oil, I brush a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in the bottom of my sheet pan, put the pasta down, I spray the top with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil or drizzle it over the top and just let this cool completely at room temperature. Don't put this in the refrigerator. You can let this come to room temperature. Then you can saran it or put it in a Ziploc bag, and then you can go ahead and finish your dish later on. So this is a nice little technique, a nice way, especially if you are having company and you think you have to do this at the last minute, you don't have to do that. We have our broccoli, and then I like to put, this is one dish I like to add just a little piece of butter in at the end just to give it a little bit of richness, but you don't have to. And you of course could drizzle a little bit of extra virgin olive oil over the top, which is very classically Italian and also would impart a beautiful flavor too. So I think that is it for this particular pasta dish. As I said, you could, with the Orchiette, you could do it with cauliflower and some fresh peas. You could saute some leeks. The one thing with pasta is that you can pretty much take anything that you have in your refrigerator, and as long as the ingredients that you're using all make sense and they really do belong together, you can really create yourself a really nice dish. Cut yourself a nice loaf of bread and you have a nice meal, and it's quite easy and quite simple, quick to put together. Okay, so we'll let this simmer for a few more minutes, and in the meantime, I think this would be a great time for Bob to come in and talk about the wine that he thinks might go really nicely with this dish.
Okay.
So, Bob, welcome.
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 Welcome to you.
Okay.
So, I was listening,
Yeah.
and you did a very, very good job.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good job.
Good.
Okay, so wine pairings, oh boy, there's a lot of different strategies, if you will, thoughts. People are very passionate about what goes with what. And so you can look at it from a lot of different angles, right? And so this particular dish, I don't know if you've seen any of the other videos, but they were a little bit, I'm going to say more of what we did at the restaurant. This is a more casual dish. We had actually had this dish for dinner about a week and a half ago, and it was lovely. But I think the thinking is, so it's a casual dish, casual wine, you know, which is not a bad thought, right? I mean, if you were doing, if we were doing Chateaubriand, you might do, you know, a very high-end wine like Chateau de Pape. And they kind of go together, right? Chateaubriand and Chateau de Pape, right? So, not to say that if you like, you know, a big Cabernet from California, or you know, a wine from Burgundy, that you couldn't have it with this. But from I think an eating, drinking standpoint, food and wine marriage standpoint, it's a casual dish, kind of casual wine.
Yeah.
So what comes to mind for me is, you know, a red blend of some sort. There's a lot of blends that are, you know, they're moderately priced. I love blends because it's really a combination of flavors, just like a combination of flavors in food. So, you know, I think inherently it's just a nice pairing. When we did have it a week and a half ago, we actually served ourselves a Pinot Noir. And, you know, because the sausage is fairly light, it's a light dish, right? We're not having to stand up to a really strong type of meat. Although I would say the spice in there is something to contend with, but a lot of times that spice will evolve back into the wine, which is kind of a beautiful thing. So we used a Chateau Lafayette Reneau, which is in the Finger Lakes, and it's a Pinot Noir. And I want to say, and kind of make a big deal out of this, it was 2007, which is 13 years ago. Most wine publications, I'm going to say, I won't name them, but if you like wine publications, you know what they are, will say that, oh, you know, reds don't really age in the Finger Lakes, right? And they might think that's true, but then again, we live in the Finger Lakes, and I aged one from 2007, 2020, and it was delightful. It was really delightful, right?
That's great.
It had body, it had character, it had mellowed, and it was a wonderful accompaniment. So one of the things I wanted to point out was, whether it's in the Finger Lakes or whether it's in other wine regions, it's kind of helpful to know what years are the best years for the particular varietals. So in the Finger Lakes, reds need heat, because that's how they work and become flavorful. So, you know, I remember the years 2007, 2008, 2010, 2012. Those are all great years, and they're great years for reds, right? So, you know, that's why 2007 Pinot, and you know, is now really good in 2020. So keep that in mind. Wine Spectator actually has a really nice little chart you can put in your wallet. It tells you every wine region in the world, and tells you what the ratings were for particular years, both red and white. And you go, geez, you could, you know, be knowledgeable in a restaurant. You pull out your trusty chart underneath the table. You look and you say, I'll have
it makes your job easy.
I'll have a Bordeaux in 2006 or whatever it might be.
Right.
So, so just pay a little bit of attention to that if you want to. But in this case, I think casual goes with casual, and you know, both will work well together.
Right. That's
Yeah,
terrific.
makes sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
So I think a Pinot Noir with the sausage also will be really, really
Yeah.
nice,
Yep.
you know, with that dish. So I think that's great. And I think Bob actually opened up a Damiani 2012 Pinot Noir. So we're going to try that with the dish, and I'm sure it's going to be delicious. Okay, so we're ready to go and add our broccoli. Warm up the broccoli a little bit, then we'll throw in our pasta, finish it off with a little bit of butter, and we're ready for dinner. Okay, here we go. So the broccoli is room temperature, so we need to heat that up a little bit. So I'm going to raise the heat and cover it for a minute or so. There we go.
Just gonna put this right here so that
Yeah.
people can see it.
Yeah.
2012, once again, great year.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked it.
Here you go.
Great year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like
so
the year we were married here.
that's right.
Yeah.
1978, 7?
7?
7? That's right. Tim was born in 78. That's right.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
Yeah, no. Okay, so let's get this heated up, and then we can also go ahead and throw in our pasta, which is, there's about 6 ounces here too. 6 ounces of, I have 6 ounces of sausage, 6 ounces of pasta, and a half a head of broccoli. Okay, let's throw in our pasta. And if we need a little bit more stock, the one thing that I know many chefs and many cooking demonstrations and shows that you've seen on television, they always tell you to save some of your pasta water, which is what I have here, a little bit of our pasta water. So if I need a little bit more liquid in there, I'll add a little pasta water, or you can add a little bit of stock. So that's what's in here. Take a look. Oh, this is looking nicely. I think we can go ahead and put a touch of the pasta water in here. Turn it up. And there we go. I do like a little bit of liquid in my pasta. I don't like it too dry. And to this, I'm going to add a piece of butter. This is unsalted butter, so I'll throw in a little bit just for some richness. Okay, here we have it. About a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons. You can add as much butter or as little butter as you like. And then we can finish it with just a little bit of Parmesan cheese. This is freshly grated Parmesan Reggiano cheese. And I also have some cheese shards where I just used a peeler and just peeled some nice cheese shards off of a chunk of Parmesan Reggiano cheese. So we'll just put a little bit in here to add to our sauce that we have here. Okay, here we go. I think it is complete. The only thing I'd like to do now is just taste the broth, make sure that it's seasoned nicely. I think another thing that so many people always tell you is taste as you go along. That's very important to make sure that you have it seasoned properly. So taste as you go along. So I'm just going to taste this. Oh, the broth is delicious. Really good. Okay. Well, it's very important to like your own food. Just remember that. Okay, here we go. All set and ready to go. I have some parsley, and let me just bring the frying pan to the front so everybody can see it. Okay, to this I'm going to just stir in a little bit of fresh parsley.
Real low.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay for now. Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
sounds good. All right, so here we have it.
There you go.
There we go. We can see it nicely there.
Okay.
Okay, very nice. Thank you, Bob.
Sure.
I'm going to plate up some pasta. I'll add the broth after I get this in each dish. Have a little bit of everything there. Like that. Oh, it smells really good. Very satisfying. And there's probably enough here for, I'm going to say, well, 3 hungry people for sure.
Or 2 very, very hungry.
Very, very hungry people. So it's not really a whole lot. You're talking about 3 ounces of meat per person, which is not a lot. I think it's fair to say that. Okay. And then, thank you.
Yep.
Let's just take that slotted spoon away and just add a little bit of the broth. There we go. And just one more little touch. And we are ready to enjoy dinner. Okay, so here we have it. I have some cheese shards, which I will put on the plate. And if you want, Bob, you can maybe get a close-up of each dish first.
I will do that.
Before we finish our little demonstration here. Okay. A little bit, there we go, a little closer.
Okay.
So everybody can see it.
There we have it.
And here.
There we have it.
Okay, and dinner is
A
served.
little red wine.
Yeah. So hopefully you enjoyed this little demonstration. This was a lot of fun. This is good home cooking at its best.
Oh,
And
thank
here,
you.
that's
Oh,
for you.
geez.
Yeah,
Don't
there
wanna
you
spill
go.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So here's to you. Here's to cooking with love. Here's to having a good partner to cook with.
The best.
Okay. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Bye now.